welcome back to Big Time Fantasy Football with Nick and Zach. Here we are with another video. Today we're going to be breaking down some quarterbacks, putting them in different tiers, giving you our thoughts on them. The draft seasons are right around the corner, so we're going to do all of these. We're starting with quarterbacks. We'll get into running backs, receivers, tight ends, all of that. But starting off with the good old QBs.
Yep. And before we get going, make sure you like, subscribe. Lets us know that you're enjoying the content. We're going to be coming out with a bunch of rookie content leading up to the draft, and then from then on, we'll go into actual Dynasty content throughout the year. So,
Yes. So, here's our little tiers right here. First, unless you've been living under a rock, you know who's going number one overall. It's Mendoza, Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman and championship winner. He has a good size, good frame on him. He has a good quarterback body, ready for the NFL. He has a great anticipation with him. He's fearless in the pocket. He can stick in there. He's not afraid to take the hit. He's not going to shy down from that. He's elite in the red zone. He had 39 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, which in the red zone where you need to get points, that's where you're going to want your quarterback at his best. So he really capitalizes on those. He has a great touch on layered throws. If he needs to throw over a linebacker, over a corner in a zone to get it to a deeper receiver, running it in, breaking it out, breaking route, he can definitely do that. The player comp we had for him was Joe Burrow. It's lofty expectations, but if there's anybody in this class that's near that, then it's going to be the boy Mendoza. And he has, as far as his cons go, it's not all pros. His ability to escape the pocket isn't always great. He's not an elite arm talent as far as being able to throw from any angle or be perfect on the deep bombs. He can be thrown off balance if he has to extend the play, if he has to roll out of the pocket and then make reads while he's rolling out. That's something that can affect him. Other than that, though, he's a great player. Like I mentioned, he has good size on him. He's 6'5", 236 with a decent sized hands. So yeah, just the clear runaway number one draft pick and quarterback in this class.
yeah, absolutely. I feel like we've been spoiled the past few years with like 2 or 3 top prospects at the quarterback position, and this year this is kind of our guy. I do like that he played with Coach Cignetti at Indiana. Great coach. He really gets players developed, and he cares about winning and developing players to be pro ready. So I think that only helps Mendoza in this situation. All right, getting into tier 2. Like I said, there's kind of a QB drought this year. The next closest guy is going to be Ty Simpson from Alabama. I think we were talking a little bit earlier that if he was in next year's class or even the previous couple classes, he would not be this high, and I don't think he'd be thought of as this high. But definitely a decent prospect. He's the QB2 here. He is really good at recognizing coverages quickly, and especially when he was playing in the SEC this year. That's tough competition, and you need to be able to recognize quickly. You need to be at least decent and competent to play in the SEC. He's got great footwork, and he has very consistent mechanics. You never see him really get rattled too much and switch up his footwork. He can be affected by pressure, but he's very mechanical. He does have some ability to escape the pocket. I wouldn't say he's a dual threat or like a running threat, but he has some movability when he's under pressure and in the pocket. He has really good risk management, not too many turnovers. He takes care of the ball, which NFL scouts are definitely looking for that. And then he makes the easy stuff look easy. I know some quarterbacks like Anthony Richardson, I wouldn't trust him to throw a 5-yard out, but Ty Simpson really doesn't have that problem. Going into his cons, he is very inexperienced. Playing at Alabama, they have quarterbacks coming in and out of there pretty much every year, so he only got 1 year as a starter. His accuracy can be affected when he gets pressured. Like I said, he did play in the SEC, a lot of tough defenses, so he did get pressured a decent amount, and we saw a dip in his accuracy. He does hold on to the ball too long. Sacks are the opposite of what you want as a quarterback. Sacks can hurt a drive, end a drive. So hopefully he can cut down on that going into NFL. and towards the end of the year, he did struggle. His production dipped a lot, and end of the year is when you want everything to be clicking and you want to really perform as a quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree. The sentiment is something that we talked about as far as in most other classes, he's not going to be going this high or talked about like this. But actually looking into him recently, I saw actually a couple things that I did like more than I really recognized. He has a lot of those things where you have to really teach and drill into young guys and like break their bad habits. He does a lot of those things well already, as far as like his footwork, his keeping his eyes and his feet aligned, things like that, making the easy throws. That's very frustrating things that that a young guy can do. So I think he has a lot of those things to where he does have a good mold to build out from. And his draft stock was boosted heavily by this 4-game run that he had, kind of midseason. I can't remember every game, but I know they played Tennessee and Missouri, and he's really balling out in those 2 games. And then the 2 games around him were against tough opponents as well, and he showed out there. So he has a chance to really develop into a decent starter. Don't think he'll be, one of those day one starters, but not a bad flyer on this guy.
Yeah.
All right, and he was alone in that tier. Obviously, as we mentioned, he's kind of big breaks between the guys here. So we have guys that a lot of people have seen kind of be interchangeable with them here as far as Nussmeier and Beck. But we'll get into Nussmeier here first. So we decided to go with a little higher. I think I had Nussmeier higher. Nick had Beck a little higher. So we kind of just, we decided to go with me because I'm smarter. So anyways, Garrett Nussmeier, we had his pro comp as Drew Lock. But his pros and his cons both start with him being a gunslinger. That's who he is. He's not afraid to push the ball down. He doesn't avoid unnecessary sacks, which as a gunslinger is something that's not always paired with them. But he does. He can just get the ball out, do what he needs to do to not, take unnecessary sack. He's fearless in the pocket, though. He's not getting the ball out because he's scared to take a hit. He'll take a rock and get up there and still keep playing. He has a great arm talent. He can throw the ball from angles. He can throw the ball deep, get it short. He's just all around has a great arm on him. And which I typed in there that it opens up opportunities that otherwise you wouldn't have. If you need to throw the ball at an angle. And not every quarterback can do that. They're not going to have the opportunity, but he does. Sometimes he does a little too much weird stuff with his throws to where it's unnecessary, but he shows that he can do it. So if he learns when to do it and when not to do it, then I think that'll be big for him. Again, like I said, his cons are going to start with his being a gunslinger. Let's see. He can be confused by coverage if you're disguising it. I've seen him be fooled, a lot by that in tape. He had a great 2024 season, which, he was back then, he was having talks about being the top quarterback in this draft class early on, but then he really had a down 2025 year, which kind of tanked his stock, which now we're talking about him third tier at best, of the quarterbacks available in a not strong quarterback class. So, yeah, it's kind of, like I said, just that gunslinger mentality. He, to me, seems like a guy that he's going to get his chance to start eventually, probably year 2, year 3. Look great for a couple games, look terrible for a couple games. So yeah, this is kind of his archetype there.
Yeah, and just like you're saying, like he'll get a chance, and he's a very high upside type of player, type of quarterback. But the mistakes is really what he's got to cut down on, and hopefully sitting for a year or whatever happens in the NFL for him. Hopefully he can grow and develop and learn from a professional quarterback, so that way he can limit those turnovers and stuff, limit those mistakes, I should say.
Yeah, exactly. He would really benefit from sitting behind like a good solid starter for a little bit.
Yeah. All right, next guy, like you said, these are kind of interchangeable. That's why we got him in this tier here. Carson Beck played at Miami this year. Before that, he was at Georgia for a while. His player comp, I know it sounds bad, Kenny Pickett. I would say a little bit better version of Kenny Pickett. Just that pocket passer that really works through his progressions, can put the ball in a tight window. Pros, he has had 3 years experience as a starter. He was pretty successful all 3 years. I think he went to the playoff all 3 years. First with Georgia, now with Miami. He works through his progressions really well, like I said, and he can fit balls into tight windows, which is very important at the NFL level. When the defense gets better, windows are going to be tighter. You need to be able to make those throws. He is a plus athlete. He has the ability to scramble. He's not going to be running all over the field, but he does have the ability to escape and get yards when they're there. Also, he is the prototypical size for a quarterback. He'll be able to stand in the pocket. If there's pressure in his face, he can get it over him. Some of his cons, though, since he had his UCL surgery in 2024, we have seen a little bit dip in like how his throws look on tape. They just don't look the same. Which you're going to have that after an injury. Maybe he's still healing a little bit. It looked like he was getting kind of back to form at Miami and through his playoff run, but that's to be seen going forward. Pressure does affect his decision making. You'd seen, I think, in the national championship game, the final interception, he was under pressure. Big moment in the game, big spot. You need a good throw out of your quarterback, and the pressure affected him. He threw it short, and it got picked off to end the game. So just one example there. And he does need to work on his touch a little bit, especially in the NFL. The hashes are a little bit tighter, so you're going to have to layer more throws to the outside and deep balls. And that's really something that he has had questions with, at least for me, throughout his career. And then questions as a leader. He needs to be more in tune with his teammates and, setting that example. I feel like he's not very vocal in the locker room, and from what I've heard, reports. And, I think he can definitely grow in that. And I think as he gets older, that will come naturally. But to be seen. What do you think?
Yeah, no, the biggest thing why I had Carson Beck a little lower than Nussmeier was because of the questions at leadership. I forget exactly what had happened, but he skipped like his last bowl game with Georgia or something like that. There was something big that was in the news. Maybe it wasn't exactly that, but there was something that happened where like his leadership really came into question. And with the NFL team evaluating people as you're, drafting a guy that's supposed to be the leader of your team, if he gets a chance to step up, I think that's just a huge thing there. So yeah, I mean, with the question marks in that's why I have Nussmeier a little ahead of him. But all the things you said about his positives are true. He does have enough to, make a starter at some point and hopefully make a name for himself. But this is kind of the group of guys where it's just they have shown things and you just hope that they can show them in the NFL.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, the biggest difference between Nussmeier and Beck is Nussmeier is going to be that high-risk, high-reward play. Beck is going to be the safer option. I think.
Yeah. So. All right, dropping down to our next tier here. We got the C tier. We're just going to start off. We got three guys in this tier. Again, a lot of these tiers are interchangeable. Nick and I felt different about these guys, but this is kind of our consensus of the closest that we had them to bring. So we'll kind of dive into them one by one. Got Drew Alar. Player comp, we have Mitch Trubisky. So as pros, he has effortless velocity on the ball. He can flick it out there, with a power throw. He has a big frame. That 6'5" body is kind of, what you're looking for a quarterback. He has that stereotypical size that you're looking for. Different arm slots, can throw it, different ways, which kind of we mentioned earlier with Nussmeier is that's a tool in your bag that not everyone has. So if you have it, it's a good thing you can use. And then he has a low interception rate. He's not putting the ball in harm's way, which is what you like to see out of a quarterback, your game manager. His cons are short accuracy, which is a big thing. There's nothing more frustrating watching a football game than seeing your quarterback miss a 3-yard out for no reason. In Madden, it happens a lot, and it infuriates me. But this isn't about Madden. He gets antsy under pressure. The pressure can really affect, a guy like this. He'll lock in on his first read. You really want a guy to go through his reads, to move his feet, move his eyes, and get through his reads. But he has a tendency to really get in on that first guy and lock into him. Tendency to drift back, which is a coachable thing that I think is not too uncommon with young, not super top end quarterbacks. You want to step up in the pocket to be able to make a play. If you're drifting back, your footwork gets off, and it hurts the reads. So something to work on there. And then regression after losing Tyler Warren. He looked real good with Tyler Warren, but is it that hard to look good with an elite tight end like that? So step back with his production, which isn't, what you love to see there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think similar to Garrett Nussmeier and someone else we're going to have on this list later, I think he was projected going into this season to be one of those top guys at quarterback position. But, he kind of fell off this year. Losing Tyler Warren was huge. And like you said, how do you not look good with an amazing tight end prospect like Tyler Warren was? So, all right, next we're getting into Taylon Green. He is definitely the best mobile quarterback in this class, in my opinion. We have him comped to Jalen Milroe or Justin Fields. Big frame, 6'6", 227, and he ran a 4.36 40, which is nuts. He definitely has an elite combination of size and speed. He has the ability to play off script. If the pocket breaks down, he can get out, make his throws, while also getting through his progressions when he does have a good pocket and when he's in rhythm. He does have good arm strength, so he can get balls into tight windows. Like I said, very important for the NFL. And then, his main calling card is his rushing ability. Some of the cons, though, everyone's got cons. He does get through his progressions, but it takes him a little bit more time to process and get through them, which can throw off timing sometimes. He needs to rely on moving around less. So he needs to be able to not get through his couple reads and then take off running. He has the ability to extend plays and move around the pocket, keep looking downfield, and make a good throw. And he needs to learn how to step up in the pocket at the same time. So instead of backing out and keep backing up, that's really detrimental as far as if you do take a sack, you're not taking a 3-4 yard sack, you're taking a 12-yard sack, which can definitely obliterate a drive. And he does have a very slow delivery. The NFL is a game of inches, and it's very important that you can get the ball out quick as a quarterback if you're in a tight pocket. And also, along with the timing thing, it probably affects the timing a little bit, the fact that he just has a slow release.
Yeah, definitely. Best athlete at quarterback in this class by far, I would say. The biggest thing is, again, with his feet. He's dropping back in the pocket, and he's moving around a little too much while he's trying to throw, which can really affect his accuracy. And something I mentioned to Nick before, I haven't heard a huge talks to it, but something I definitely have heard is that teams may be looking at him to move to a skill position, namely tight end, with his big frame. That's something, obviously they tried to do to Lamar Jackson, who said no. I don't think he's as talented overall as Lamar, to be able to forcibly say no and still go in the first round. But if teams are talking to him and say, hey, we'll draft you here, which is much higher than you would go at a quarterback and as a tight end instead, something he may consider. He may, it really depends on how he feels about it. But not something that's locked in. He could, still have a chance to go in and stay as a quarterback, but just something I wanted to put on the radar. We got Sawyer Robertson coming in next. He's a Davis Mills type with little rush ability. 6'4" guy with decent size on him. He has a quick release, which is good, and good arm strength, which is a good pairing of things to have. A lot of people have either or. He has both under there. He can deliver under pressure. Obviously, that speed and arm strength really help with being able to get the ball out quick under pressure. He has the ability to scramble. He's no Taylon Green, but he has the ability to scramble for sure. And then he's willing to push the ball downfield, and he's a tough guy, which goes in again with delivering under pressure. He's willing to stand there in the pocket and be tough. You have to have inconsistent accuracy. Another guy that's locking in on his first read. His completion rate dropped in 2025. You want to see progression. He took a step backwards. He could improve ability to put touch on the deep balls. He has that cannon, but a lot of guys, once they have that cannon early on, they seem to either struggle with or not work on as much as their touch, their layered throws, their that type of thing. So something that he can definitely improve in over time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think his arm strength, like you said, is definitely a blessing and a curse. A lot of his deep balls they look flat and they just don't come off the hand how you want to. You want to give the receiver an ability to adjust to the ball and move around, play with the defense a little bit. So,
yeah, definitely.
All right, getting into this
final
final
C tour. Yep. Go ahead.
Getting into this final tier. This is definitely more of the developmental tier. But first, we got Cole Payton. We have him comp to Jackson Dart type. Definitely somewhat of a dual threat kind of guy. He has some good rushing stats throughout his career. 31 career rushing touchdowns. Good frame on him. He tested very well at the combine. 40-yard, like his vert, 40 inches is very good for a quarterback. He's pretty comfortable rolling to his strong side, his left side. He is a lefty. And he has good decision making. Only 4 interceptions this past year. Some of the cons, though, he was only 1 year as a starter, and he did go to a smaller school. So we'll see when he gets to play better competition in the NFL if he gets his shot. And he has a good deep ball, but he's inconsistent in the mid to short distance. Just some of his accuracy isn't there. And like you said, it's nothing more infuriating than a quarterback missing a short throw. And he doesn't have the best arm strength, so he can't really fit into tight window throws. We'll see how much that translates to the NFL, if he can put on some more weight, because that's definitely going to be important. You don't want your quarterback only throwing deep shots and, layered throws over the middle. He does need to improve his ability to read zone coverages. He's decent against man, but sometimes zones, especially if you disguise them, can kind of mess up his vision and mess up his reads. So.
Yeah. And biggest thing with him is, you can't teach experience, and he just does have the 1 year as a starter, which is, it's really hard for teams to really evaluate who someone is after 1 year. I mean, you look at Nussmeier, if he was able to come out last year, he would have gone way higher. Now he dropped because, he had the down season. So you want a full body work to really evaluate someone, which we don't have with him. He has shown enough things to, maybe take a late round flyer on him. But yeah, just not a ton to go off with seeing him.
Yeah.
Then we got Cade Klubnik, another guy that kind of, as the years gone on, he's talked super highly, and then he's only hurt his draft stock since. But we gave him, Michael Penix Jr. type comparison with him. He's a 6'2" guy. He has a good touch on the deep ball. He's comfortable with RPO and play action. He has good pocket awareness, and he's good versus man in the end zone. And he's a tough guy. He's a tough guy. He's not huge, so as a smaller guy, you want to see, that type of toughness, so which he does have. Locks on to his pre-snap reads, which, in college you get punished for that, in the NFL you get killed for that. So not something that you can do, especially with how much more disguises and schemes they have in the NFL. That's not something at all that you want to get in the habit of doing. So something that has to be coached out of. He has an arm strength concern. Not the guy that's, dropping the deep bombs all the time. So a question mark there. He, again, like I said, he's the guy that had to fall off from the 2024 to the 2025 season. In a season where you want to see him get better, he actually kind of got a little worse. So,
yeah, and like you said, not the strongest arm strength, and I think that it forces him to think about it too much, and he falls back on either checking it down or scrambling to try and get yards instead of, trusting his deep ball and hitting open receivers. So.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we got Heisman runner-up, Diego Pavia. out of Vanderbilt. We comped him to a shorter J.J. McCarthy, little bit of mobility, but he also has a good velocity and a tight spiral. He can fit balls into tight windows in the short to intermediate, and he has really good ability to sense pressure. He did really well at Vanderbilt, obviously, this year. They way outperformed what was expected of them this season. And he improved his completion percentage from 59% to 70%, which I know it's only 11%, but out of how many throws, that's a ton better than last year. Like I said, Heisman candidate, rushing threat. He'll be able to get yards with his legs. He's a very tough runner as well. The only thing is he is short. He's only 5'10", which is pretty short for a quarterback. It's going to hurt him as far as throws over the middle, and he's going to have to find passing lanes instead of being able to throw over guys. He also takes a beating. He does like to run. He likes to run through you, not around you. So that's hopefully not going to be a concern as far as his durability going into the NFL. And a lot of times he does his one read and then he takes off running, which definitely isn't great. You really have to work through your progressions as you get into the NFL and get older. So we'll see if he can work on that and change that. Also, in the Vanderbilt offense, a lot of it was screens, hitches, and fade routes. We'll see if he's able to work through progressions when he has full route trees out there in the NFL and different schemes. And yeah, he also needs to stop staring down his first read. It's really going to tip off a safety, DBs, especially when you get the good ones in the NFL, and you're going to get picked off and punished. So.
Yeah. Rooting for him. I was a smaller guy. It's always cool to see. But size helps so much, and being a quarterback, it really can't be overstated. Just seeing over your 6'2", 6'4" linemen, you have to be able to do that. And to me, like I said, I'm rooting for him, but he really reads to me as like a less athletic Kyler, which is not, exactly where you want to be as a quarterback. So rooting for the guy. He has some plus signs. I don't know how long he'll be around the NFL, but hopefully he does carve out a good career for himself. And then I believe this is the last guy on our list. We got Jalen Daniels going on here. We got a comp with him as Lamar Jackson with top end speed. We're getting a little generous here
minus top end speed.
Minus top end speed. I don't know if that's what I said, but that's what I meant to say. Yeah, so a 6'1" guy, again, not a huge guy, but still, tall enough, I guess. He does have elite athleticism. He can move around, get good, get you extra yards, do what he needs to do. And he pairs up with his off-angle throws. So while he's on the move, he can kind of get the ball out of different arms. He has a quick release, flicks it out there. He has the ability to move in the pocket, comes with that athleticism again. He has impressive touch and a ball placement. And in the short to mid area. And then he's a good decision maker. He's not out there consistently making the wrong read and bad. So like we said, he's good in the mid and the short, not so much with his deep ball accuracy. He has an injury history, and as a mobile guy, they tend to take more hits. So if he's already having that problems, that's definitely a red flag. His pocket depth discipline, kind of a common thread with a lot of these guys. It's where you want to be stepping up. You don't want to drop back. Problem that he has along with a lot of the other guys in this class. He misses open receivers in the face of pressure. So, you want, again, another common thread, you want to be able to stay in there, face pressure, make a hit, or make a good throw. And in the NFL, it's only going to get worse. Bigger, stronger, faster guys coming in your face, so you got to pause, but you got to be able to handle that. So, yeah, and he has limited starting experience, only had 36 career games as a starter. So, again, experience is huge, can't teach that. So we haven't seen his full body of work yet.
Yeah, definitely. And I like Jalen Daniels, he has moments where he looks really good, but, there's definitely some times where you can tell that he's off his game. I think just the ability to rush the ball gives him a little bit of boost here, but limited experience and can't hit the deep ball consistently, is definitely going to hurt you at the next level. So that's why he's all the way down.
In my head, I made up that he was related to Jaden Daniels to the point where I had to Google it before so I didn't sound dumb. And I'm glad I did because I didn't even hear that anywhere. I literally just made that up
Yeah,
because their names are so close, but not related. That's a fun fact, too. I don't know if that goes in pros or cons.
you heard it first. Yeah, but this is our final rankings. Like we said, not too much high-end talent, but definitely some guys. There's some guys that fell off. Hopefully they can return to, where they were the past couple years. It'll make this class look a whole lot better going forward. But yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that we're going to update as don't forget to like and subscribe, obviously. But that's something on a list that we're going to update after we get landing spots and we can see how the NFL teams actually feel about these guys, how they evaluate them, where they go, the landing spots, all that type of stuff. We'll have an update on that for sure.
yeah. All right, that's gonna do it for us at Big Time Fantasy Football. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.